Got her?
Yep.
Okay. We'll call meeting order. Roll call.
Okay, Mayor Osterberg.
Yes.
Moeller.
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
And no public forum. Consent agenda. Any additions or corrections?
No.
Motion to approve?
So moved.
You wanna be the second?
Oh.
Yes, I will.
Roll call.
Tell me what that means.
Moeller.
Yes.
Waltman.
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Stanky.
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Okay, we have some of the housing and economic development people here. Jerry, you gonna talk to us about the signs?
Sure will. Give you a tad bit of history, I don't know whether you need the mic.
Nope, I hear you just fine.
Earlier this year, the Economic Development Committee was working on putting new business signs downtown. And it's my understanding that the city was going to pay half of the signs, tentatively, up to a certain point. The committee met and we checked the internet for different types of signs that would work. We found a company in the Carolinas that did a first-rate job. They were 5-star on the internet. Contacted them, told them what we needed, and they gave us a bid of $188 per sign if we ordered a minimum of 10. Then look for brackets to hang the signs on. Again, went to the internet. The nicest, nicest one that I could find, $140. And the real nice scrolled signs, over 400. We discussed it at one of the meetings. One of the members says, how about Jim down at Trophies Plus? You think he knows anybody that could be interested in making signs? So I went down and talked to Jim. I didn't realize it's their second business. They make signs. They make them for all over the country. So I got talking with Jim and showed him about what we wanted. He shot me a tentative price. Sounded pretty good. I said, how about brackets? Well, he said, one of the best guys around, Tanner King at Auburn. He said, I'll talk to Tanner. Well, a few days later, talked to Tanner, explained what we needed. He shot us a heck of a price. I said, well, we'll talk to the committee. The committee has worked on it for a couple of months. Decided what we wanted, a 12 by 24 inch sign, rounded corners, so if a kid goes up and slaps it, he's not going to cut his hand. Double faced. It'll be 2-color, and if the business wants 4-color, it's available. Whatever the business wants, they can design. And we'll bring it over to Trophies Plus. They've got a computer there, they'll keep it on hand. If somebody has a sign that got ruined for one reason or another, they bring it up on the computer for 10 years and you got a new sign. About a month ago or so, we finalized with both of them. Jim said that they could make the signs for us, $20. Should be $188. Tanner King had shot me a cheaper price, but the committee decided that we should powder paint them so they don't rust out as fast or whatever in the future. His price to cut them out, and he's got a lot of waste because of the scrolling. There's just part of it that he's going to use in metal. He'll do the whole thing for $54. I anticipate that we'll need lug screws to mount into the buildings. an S bracket or chain to hang them down from. We want to put little grommets on each side of the sign and possibly on the bracket so that there's less wear from windage. Put a price in there at $6, which I don't think it costs that much. You've got a total cost then, tentatively, of $80 per sign. Now, since the city had been so kind as to think about sharing the cost with the businesses, and because I think the total price here is less than what the half price was anticipated to start, the committee is asking the council, would you consider just paying for the whole signs? Now, downtown area, probably 33, 35 signs. In order that we don't have problems and eliminate somebody or forget them, we'd like to offer it to the people on the side streets that have a business, also on the highway. I doubt if we'll have anybody take us up on that because distance for reading the signs would be too great. But we thought it best just to give them an idea they don't feel left out. Don't want any hard feelings. And that's basically it. Anybody have any questions?
Sounds like you've done diligence on your work, so.
Yeah, you've done a lot of work, Gary, thank you.
Yep.
Yes, you know, I had to look at, those signs really look nice.
If
And
you
I
see the one
think they're a
downtown,
great
that's
idea.
and they're good quality. It's good, heavy aluminum, and the brackets are solid.
Yeah. I guess my only concern is the city's using the taxpayers' dollars to buy a sign for the businesses. You know, we're only talking $80. I mean, and I think they're a very attractive piece for businesses to invest their money into, but to ask the city taxpayers to flip the bill for them, what's the taxpayers gonna get out of it?
See, I disagree, because, and you know, it's pretty well known where I stand on a lot of issues like this. I think I've said this before, but I'm gonna repeat it. Went to the Western Iowa Tourism all-day workshop program in Storm Lake a few weeks ago. The state of Iowa took in almost $9 billion in 2018 from tourism dollars spent in the state of Iowa. The tax revenue from that for the state of Iowa was 517 point something million. I didn't bring my little booklet tonight, but Sac County from 2017 to 2018 went up over $1 million of tourism money spent in the county. Now, where would you think that most of that money was spent?
Probably every Lakeview, I guess.
Probably. So, what I think is, we've done a great job of getting some amenities and getting the lake improved and getting people coming here for the campground, you know, and we've talked about improving that campground and how that's necessary. You know, that's tax dollars too, and I know that money's coming in, but the thing is that, you know, there is a big piece of that pie out there, and we're getting some of it, but I think we can get more. So if we have the amenities that draw those people in, and I think we're doing that, I think we'll expand on that, we're bringing revenue in. I know it's difficult for the guy on the street to see it. I believe that the downtown business district has to keep up and be somewhere to draw these people here, so that they don't come just for the lake, or, you know, do they pick here, or Clear Lake, or Okoboji, or wherever, because, well, there's not such great shopping here, or whatever. I mean, you know, we've got our own little niche, what we're good at, I think, you know, the bike trail. Are you? So anyway, I just think that the downtown is important in this, and that we've got the bakery coming on, and we've got, you know, hopefully we're gonna make some progress with those other two buildings there. And that by making that more viable, by making those businesses more successful, they spend more money into the city coffers, they use more utilities. You know, if you lose a business, you've lost the tax base, you've lost the utilities. You know, they pay a higher tax base, I know that's been thrown at me, but when you improve the building, you know, look at the bakery. Look at the renovation to that building and what that's gonna make a difference to on that tax base than what it ever was before. Look at Nate's, what that's gonna bring in that tax base. So I think you have to support that if you want a community to grow. And I think to think that the business shouldn't partner with private industry is old school. I think it's old school. Everything I go to preaches against that. Everything I go to. And I know that, you know, it's difficult for people to go to all this stuff, but, you know, when you work in that, but I'm here to tell you, that's what I hear at every meeting, over and over and over and over.
So what about the ones that have nice signs up already, you're just gonna kick them out?
No. You know, here's what I think. I think in order to have this, because I saw this as a retail walking thing. So it's mainly for businesses that you're gonna walk into and you're either gonna purchase something or you're gonna have a service. You know, it's not so much like for the apartments or that. So I just thought that it's gonna add some character to the downtown area. It's gonna bring people up there to shop, spend money. That's the whole goal. That's the whole goal for me, is to spend money down there. This is less money than what we were gonna partner with. And I will tell you this, I've talked to Connie Asen, she thinks she can get pretty good grants on this after the first of the year. So I don't really think the commitment will be what it is here, but she can't apply for grants without a city matching funds or city commitment. We've been down that road before, you can't get grants if you hold up money.
Right. I guess my whole thing is, you know, we're talking about an $80 sign. And a total of $3,600 from our city economic development fund.
Right.
Is what the
That would probably be the
proposal
max,
is.
yeah.
To me, economic development is something that we might see a return on. You know, the apartments, the things that we've been doing downtown. You know, I have a problem visualizing a sign bringing in people to shop our downtown.
I disagree.
Okay.
I think
Like
aesthetics
this
is a lot.
this to me is more of a cosmetic thing.
It is, it's aesthetics, and that's why
And
they'll
it looks
shop.
nice, and I'm not gonna
Right.
disagree with that one
Right.
bit, because I am 100%
Right.
for those signs. But to ask the taxpayers to flip the bill for them, I guess that's the only problem I have with it. And if we have another housing project, say in assisted living or something like that, you know, every time we come up with a $3,000 project or 2,000, and we keep on coming up with those, they add up. And then down the road here, we're gonna ask the taxpayers again to look at a possible increase to the water rates. You know, and sometimes those little $2,000 spending things have to stop, you know, in my mind, because at some point, to me, it's gonna come back and bite us in the butt.
And I
Keep on
understand
doing
that, and I totally disagree, because I think this will pay for itself by bringing people into the businesses downtown. And the only way it's gonna look uniform and look nice is if the city controls it. If you ask the businesses to put up their own signs, they're gonna be up. And the whole idea is to make it look compatible as a pedestrian walking through. We need people in this downtown, and we're looking as good now as we've looked in 15 years, I think, since we lost TJ's. I mean, we look as good now as we have in a really long time for traffic. And I think there's potential there. In fact, I think, you know, we've got the gallery, and I think the dentist keeps thinking he's gonna do something, and I think a lot of that is because of what we've been doing.
Sure,
So I know we're spending a little money, but this is such a minute
but
amount of
I'd
money.
rather that $3,600 bucks go to something like that. You know, and, you know, I've been in business before for $80 for an attractive sign and to make it uniform. I'd be all for that if I was in business.
Right,
And I'd pay that $80 myself,
yeah.
and instead of asking the taxpayers to do it.
I guess I disagree. I think it helps the taxpayers by, you know, my utility rates depend on how many people live in this town, don't they? The infrastructure's the same, the sewer's the same. So more people living in this town spreads out that money with very little cost. So,
Right.
to me, the whole thing is to grow this community, to grow the business district, to grow the tourism, and that's where I'm at. And so,
And
you know, with that.
how are we gonna judge how many extra people come into town because of the $3,600 we spend on the
May I
signs?
interject something?
Sure.
Go ahead.
On the signs here, the business owner has the right or potential, or whatever you want to call it, to design the sign. And my thoughts are, let's say I got a certain product that I'm trying to sell. Somebody's walking down the street and they say Joe Blues, whatever it is, are they gonna go in? But if they say Joe Blows, we sell wine, blah, 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 in smaller letters, it would give them more of an attraction to go in. I know it would me, because if I walk down a strange town, I don't know, I might look in the window and I might buy something, I might not. I think it will really help the businesses get more people in and consequently spend more money. But the $3,600 there, I don't think it will have 45 signs. Not that it makes a lot of difference. I think it'd probably be around 3,000, 3,200, but that's
And
neither here nor
and
there.
if we get grants, it'll be less than that. I just think, I've had people say to me, you know what? We used to come here and camp and we'd love to go to your downtown. You had TJ's and there was so many nice little stores. And now there's really not much up there. That's what I heard about 10 years ago. So I want it back. I want that downtown, you know, the farmer's market does well now and draws people up there. This will help. And with that being said, I'm making a motion that we approve the spending of this money contingent on the grants being applied for.
Is there a second to that motion?
Is that contingent on the grants, that we would get those grants?
Well, it would be contingent on her applying for grants. There's no way I can know what she'll get.
I just got one other question, is, so if you put all these smaller signs up, are you gonna ask people to take the big,
And if they don't want
Are
the
we gonna-
sign, then
are we gonna be overdoing it with,
if they absolutely don't
Too much
want
postage.
the other sign, then we won't do it.
There are people that want to, Kettering and Bowling over here on the insurance, they sure want one of them because they got a beautiful sign up front, and there are others. So we
no, I
take
don't know about
advantage
the
of
apartment
some-
building either, I mean, I wouldn't be totally against it, and I wouldn't mind spending $80, but, you know, myself, you know, if I wanted to, you know.
I think it'll really add a nice character to the
Well, it'll
downtown.
make all the signs uniform.
Yes, it will.
Well, that's what I was getting at, if you want them all uniform, then they should
We're not
say
gonna
what
make,
business it is, you know, and then, you know, the advertising needs to be done on the window or something, you know, just, I guess, I don't know, I'm just saying. You don't wanna write that sign full of stuff they can't read.
Oh, no, just one or two key things that you get, otherwise you're overdoing it.
We have a motion and a second, let's have a roll call.
I'll second it.
Is that
Cindy did.
approve the funds contingent upon the grants being applied for? Becky? Thoms?
Yes.
Moller?
Yes.
Reese?
I don't, yeah, it's okay with me, I just said,
Was that a yes or no?
yes.
Bowman?
I think the signs are a great idea and everything, but I'm gonna vote no.
Thank you.
Yes.
That carries.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you for all your work.
Thank
Thank
you
you,
very much, appreciate it.
Gary and the whole housing committee, thank you.
Yeah.
Yes, they are a good idea, I'm not gonna argue that.
Okay, we'll talk about our public works employee that we've interviewed.
Thank you, Gary.
Thank you.
Bye.
Everybody had a chance to meet Austin Bruning. And I emailed, I don't know if everybody had a chance to see that on email, but I emailed that as an application to him. So the interesting thing about Austin is that he is his training is in electric line work.
I saw that.
Okay, so he's graduated from the line program at Jackson. Okay, so comes to us with that type of experience, which just helps us, I think, as far as again, cross-training across departments. You know, there's some things now that he'll be able to help out with on the electrical side of things when needed, so. Austin is proposed for hire. With that though, of course, Austin still is our Public Works employee. Let's take a look at page 6. In the bottom half of the page that he would acknowledge these things. We would anticipate the first date of employment to be December 9th. If he's hired tonight, we'd have to do the physical and drug screen, but assuming everything's good there, we'd be on for a December 9th employment date. Okay. Streets, water, and sewer classification. Probationary employee then for 6 months. Number 4 says 75%. We'll talk about that here in a second. Number 5, I must reside within 10 air miles of Lakeview city limits. We'll tell you that Austin has purchased a home in Sac. So meets the residency requirement, okay, and has purchased a home as far as 7 Down Routes. Obtain that commercial pesticide applicator's license and be able to help us out with spraying mosquitoes. Okay, set for the grade 1 water distribution and wastewater exams immediately upon meeting the experience requirement, and set for the grade 2 then immediately upon meeting the experience requirement, the 3-year experience requirement. Okay. Back up to number 4, my pay rate would be, this is 75%, normal entry pay is 75% per the union agreement. Bill and Mayor and I would propose that we would bump one notch on that. It goes to 85%. Just on the, it's just really a payment for that additional training that he has as far as being an electric line worker. Okay? Then the other side of that though is we just hired Tommy with it, and Tommy at least has a little bit of experience for us though, and we would like our new hires to have the same pay rate. We would propose Tommy to be at 85%.
Tommy came on at 75.
75.
Bill highly encourages us to adopt 1939.
So you're looking for a motion for
Yes.
both of the?
Just 1939.
Separate?
Everything's included in that resolution if we want
I'll
to.
make a motion to approve that resolution.
Second,
I'll second it.
roll call.
Boltman,
Yes.
Tom,
Yes.
Stankin,
Yes.
Mulder,
Yes.
Reese.
Yes.
Welcome aboard.
You're on board.
Thank you very much.
There you go. I'm gonna set up an appointment for a physical and a drug screen.
Yeah.
You'll hear from me right away tomorrow.
Perfect.
You're available anytime this week?
Yep.
I set it up anytime?
Yep.
Can you list
Scott, one
the
thing, oh, excuse me, like the union, when does that starts after 6 months, or is that a probation?
The probationary period, okay, it's just he's a probationary employee for 6 months.
Yeah,
Okay.
so what about if he wants to join the union, that starts after the 6 months?
You know what,
I don't know, I never.
I don't know the answer, really.
Okay.
And my
You don't
stance
wanna
on
give
that
it-
is that's,
you don't
that's a
wanna give
labor
an
issue,
answer.
that's not management.
No, you don't
Okay,
Get
well,
one
that's,
advice on that,
I didn't know.
We don't even need
You
to
know, I
discuss
didn't know
that.
what they did.
I'm gonna discuss that. Get hot water for that. Well, welcome aboard. Yes.
Thank you.
Okay, we did find somebody that would do Karen's driveway. The other guy won't even answer his phone. Joe,
Yeah, pricing on this is different, it'd be $15 per square foot. The estimated max there is $7,500. We we're dealing with JL Construction, they were at $3,500. So, this is Dakota Workmeister, and Mayor and I had met with Dakota and Karen, and just feel confident about Dakota, at least doing that and doing a nice job. So, it'd be recommended for this replacement up at Karen West Fence driveway.
So if we contract with him, do you know when his plan is to do it?
Spring.
I mean, we will actually be on the list and
We're on
not
the list, you
be
bet.
put off and off and off? I mean, does he understand that?
Yes, we had that
we had
that discussion with him.
You can always get an engineer first.
That's why we're replacing it.
So we want a motion to approve the contract with them?
So moved.
I'll second.
Roll call.
Okay, Waltman,
Yes.
Reese,
Yes.
Moller,
Yes.
Stanky,
Yes.
Tom.
Yes.
Okay, we unfortunately have to talk about water rates.
Yeah. Flip to page 70, and that's the same financial recap that I showed you last time with those same highlights. And a couple things of note there. Basically, that the only time we cover our costs here over the past 2 or 3 years is if there's an influx of special revenues, or if we have not done any capital projects. So, system maintenance, I've highlighted that, just that you will continue to see that increasing again as the plant gets older. That's our plant maintenance. Whereas our plant maintenance costs had been minimal over the first several years. As that ages, we find that we're having more expenses there. Okay, chemicals. You see what's happened to chemicals over the years too, and this year, the actual cost there, $28,000, and we budget for that to be at $20,000 for the next couple of years. Largely due to salt, okay? So we're going to replace the resin in those nitrate units, and after we replace the resin in that, we'd like to see that the salt cost go down, that we ought to be able to get more throughput on each regeneration of the
And the
of the units.
65 is for the resin, right?
Yes, $50,000 for the resin, and then we have budgeted $15,000 for its valves and hydrants is mainly what the other capital projects are.
Okay.
So, the other thing I did not highlight though is the number right below 65,000. It's 37,400. Tammy and I were just talking about that. That's our debt retirement number. Okay, that 37,400 in the projected fiscal year 2021. That's our last debt payment for that. So that's the good side of things, is that we won't continue to have that debt service payment come out in future years. But the other thing to note then, by the end of next fiscal year, you can see what the balance is proposed to be about $16,000. So we still have funds, money in the fund, but nothing of significant balance that would allow us to handle any emergencies or anything like that. Now, it's also, I've talked to at least two of you about the notion of, well, geez, do we need to do this right now? I guess that can be a decision for the council, but we do have this upcoming sewer rate increase again, and so the question was, do we need to do this right now? Can we hold off for another year? And you get right down to it, we at least have $1 in the bank at the end of next year, the way things are. But
Could we use, if we hold off, so if something goes wrong, could we use money from our general fund, that we have
we can.
money in our
Yeah.
general fund?
Yeah,
For that, so we don't have to do that?
I
You could,
understand, I understand that, or I've learned since I got on the council that, your user fees should pay, sewer should pay for sewer, water should pay for water. So I understand that now better than I did before. But with that being said, I really hate to do this when we're doing this last sewer increase. And this is the last year that we have that big of a sewer increase, and if we could just try to get by for a year and then, you know, more modest increases maybe then in the water. I just hate, I really hate to do that this year.
And I totally agree with that, and then also we'll add that 37,400
Right,
going into that account too, so
right.
we have.
And we're gonna have more people. They're gonna
Because
come
of
and
the
they're gonna
sign,
use more water.
Yeah.
Bill, Bill, I need you to look at your crystal ball. Is there anything in that plant that you would be a little worried about that would, I mean, I understand stuff breaks, but I mean, as far as condition of the equipment, how do you think?
I think once we replace the medium inside, that's the biggest thing. And the last couple of days, we've gone below 100,000 gallons of pumped water, so
Okay,
we have less leaks.
yeah, we spent some money on
We're
correcting
finding
some of
our
our
leaks and fixing them, so that waste is down. Just the regular maintenance on both our pumps, that water is really hard, and
Sure,
that's just,
yeah, but that's just
Just
normal
yeah.
operation, so. Yeah,
nothing good
okay,
about that.
alright, was just wondering if there was a piece of
Better
equipment.
today than it's looked in a long time.
Well, good, that's good to hear.
And the sewer kind of boils, you know, the more water, the higher the sewer bill, the more water, so because of the use of the water, this phase, that's where the sewer bill comes from. Yeah, actually.
Right,
It is,
it's based on water usage.
Right. So,
You know, we ran a study on that, though, Terry, about as you increase sewer rates, did the water consumption go down because people were conserving? And we found no significant amount of conservation, which I was a little bit surprised.
yeah, me too. Yeah, we don't watch that because I don't wanna clean the sewer out. I'd assume keep the water running.
That's really a problem too, with these low flow toilets.
That's right.
You get more sewer problems when you hire a road rooter, $135 a pop.
That's right.
The biggest thing we can do as a town is keeping our leaks away,
Mhm.
because you're not selling that water, you're just running in the ground.
Well,
So you need a motion or something?
No,
No.
we just talked about
no
it.
We're just not gonna do anything,
No action.
okay, table.
We'll have no action, I'll make some note that we'll try to reconsider next year.
there you go.
Sounds fair.
Sounds good to me.
City administrator report?
Yeah, starting on page 10 was that correspondence from Beanstra and Kim about the lagoon, and it's a kind of weird looking correspondence, because this would be something that we would send out there, or it would come to us in January. And this is detailing what happens at the end of the project. Before we get into the weeds too far, I just actually want to go to page 13. And there's a bulleted list on page 13, and it tells you the 5 things that would happen at the end of the project. Okay, so we would have a change order that extends the maintenance bond period. We would have a change order that extends the contract period by a certain number of days. We'd have a resolution to approve the supplemental contract. Again, the contract can only go into effect when the project is substantially complete, as in it could operate. Fourth thing is to approve the final pay estimates. We'd have a partial pay estimate that it provides for all the payment of all work done up to that point. Okay, and then the net retainage is paid out as final 31 days later. Well, the net retainage would be the amount of retainage less liquidated damages. Okay, and so that the amount of liquidated damages would be yet to be determined. And then adopt the resolution accepting the project. So we would accept the project. This all happens pretty concurrently, about the same time. Flip back to page 10. This bottom of the page, they start talking about the extension of the maintenance bond. Again, so Grundman Hicks has offered an extension, a 6-month extension of the maintenance bond with that to kick in when the plant goes into use, as in it starts accepting waste, which would be, say that's sometime in March. And then it would be another 6 months, 2 years and 6 months from then, which, say, puts it at the end of September-ish, okay,
2022.
of '22. Yep. Then, and Whitey had talked with them quite a bit about, instead of 6 months, he'd really like to see that 1 year. And that's our position as of now, we would propose that 1 year worth of additional maintenance bonds, so you go from 2 to a full 3 years on it. But you see there's blanks on here as far as negotiating what that time would be.
So were they
We
going,
can't.
how did you guys leave that day, cause I had to leave?
Well, they told me no because it was too much money. That was, so they're running their business according to money.
Well, when I left, they were telling you that the bond company would not go more than 6 months. They had asked for 6 months, and they said 6 months, we won't go longer than that.
I took it that they were gonna go 6 months, but they wouldn't go a year because it was gonna cost too much.
Oh, I got it that it was the bond company.
They're trying to lay it on the bond company that they didn't want to do that.
Well, we can't do anything until it's done with an operator. It's.
We don't have no dates, we,
So,
only thing we got leverage right now is, because I'll tell you what's gonna happen. This weather changes, they're not gonna be able to date, they're not gonna be able to, if that ground gets hard, they might leave tomorrow and not come back, or, whenever the contract starts. They've made the contract, they understood the time frame, and, yeah, we'll go into negotiations on what they'll say is bad weather, good weather, but the whole thing about that is, they only wanted to work 4 days a week. And that to me is a real issue that, I understand if it rained one day they'd come back, but they could have made up other days by working 5 days a week when they had an opportunity. So to them, I don't think that I think they think we're just gonna roll over and let it go. And I think we should hold their feet to the fire, and when it's up and running, then we can negotiate.
yeah,
Well,
we can't
wasn't it more
negotiate
like-
anything until it's done.
Yeah,
Yeah, true, this is just laying out what the process would be.
Okay.
There is
Wasn't
there
it
is
more
no
like
action.
40 hours?
Okay, if there's no action, excuse me, I'm sorry, Terry, but,
Wasn't it more like 40 hours instead of 44 days?
Yeah, they would only work 40 hours.
Right,
Yeah, normal week was 4 tens.
right.
Yeah, just to understand, as we discuss this, this is just more laying out what the process is, there is there's no decisions. There is no decisions that can be made, because we can't do anything until the project's done.
So then when they say they're gonna be done on December 30th or whatever, then we do an actual physical inspection at that point in time?
The engineers will help us to determine substantial completion.
The engineers?
Yeah, I know you don't like that, but yeah, of course, they're the ones, we do have an inspector out there virtually daily, and we rely on him for that.
Yeah,
Well,
and
well-
I realize we have to.
and one of the things they talked about, filling the lagoons, they say a month. Everybody I heard when we were sitting to have this meeting, it was gonna take 60 days. And they said you can't fill it too soon, because if the water would freeze, we'd have some issues with the piping. Isn't that what?
That's a concern.
Correct me if I'm wrong now.
That's a concern I thought we had.
And to me, so that means that really, you think about, end of March, maybe you got if the weather is decent, that they could start filling, if they got the other projects done. They still gotta come all the way up to the highway, go under the highway yet, bore that out.
Well, no, I guess, just a clarification on that sewer line's up to the highway, they just gotta bore the road.
Yeah, well,
All of the main is installed,
okay,
okay?
okay.
Are they done boring to the old plant and
No.
just, no?
There's 2 big bores,
Right,
well, and so one is under the highway there at TCT,
right,
that's one. And then the biggest bore is underneath the creek.
and they're waiting till they're ready to hook in, right?
No, they could do this anytime, I do not know.
But he acted like they weren't going to, because you asked about
Yeah,
them
about
blocking that.
actually tapping into the manhole at the sewer plant, and when when they would do that and when we could conceivably start to divert.
And they didn't wanna
Flow.
do it until they were ready.
Until they're ready.
Well, so they won't bore either,
They can do the boring anytime, yeah,
so that's not done either.
it's not,
Um,
And there was a couple pits that had to be done, right? Did they get them in?
my concern is they wanna start filling in like they're talking February.
yeah, we may not want that to happen.
They don't act like that's a problem, but I wonder. Because if, like Whitey said, if they don't start filling till March, and it takes 2 months, or even in March, maybe they could do it in 4 to 6 weeks, because the weather will be warmer, it'll fill faster, is that what I got out of that meeting?
They'll fill faster, they're
But-
worried about freezing.
Right,
That's,
so, we certainly don't wanna have any trouble with those intakes, or any of those air hoses, because they were
Oh, you
filling
betcha.
before it. I
Absolutely.
mean, I think we need total control over when that starts to
Is
fill.
that, because yeah, that's the deal, that, of course, air runs through those lagoons all the time,
Right,
okay? But you can't turn the air on until they're basically full because of the air pressure in the system.
right, so you don't want them freezing.
You don't want them freezing, that's right.
And do we have total control over that? I mean, are they gonna do that? I'm concerned about
Yeah.
that. The engineer has control.
Well, of course, they work for us though, so I mean, they're gonna do what we wanna do.
Okay. Well, that was my big concern coming out of that was, I'm afraid they're gonna wanna get done, and they're gonna start pushing it, and they're gonna wanna start filling when the weather, because February, you can get some dang cold weather.
Well, they made the comment at that meeting, I don't know if you were still there, but they said they don't wanna fill in February.
Okay,
They thought the earliest they possibly could start filling is towards the end of March.
okay. Well,
And if-
that sounds good.
And with the end of March, I don't know where the 30 days come out, but I'll bet it's closer to 60 days, the time they get that filled to, there's a lot of water that's gotta go into all the lagoons yet, and you gotta fill the system up, you gotta do the whole,
If we wait, and it gets to be March and April, and you get some of those rains, it'll fill up actually pretty quick. By the
Oh,
time we
good.
get some infiltration going, it'll fill up.
I would just feel the later the better, I guess I just wanna make sure we don't have any issues
Yep.
after spending all this money.
We're not
Yeah,
gonna let
for
them
sure.
start if we're in danger at all.
Well, we certainly want the engineer to be on the same page that we're on.
Yes.
that'd be nice to talk to them.
Yeah, I think it'd be nice to talk to him too. What page is he on?
Oh, you're on a roll tonight, you know that? Yeah. He's getting right after it, I'm proud of it, by God.
Just a couple more things. I'm on page 11. I'm just on the second paragraph there. It's talking about the date of substantial completion, and what they're doing is saying, again, substantial completion being when it could, a point ready for startup. But then they say that startup in the spring would be another 2 weeks. So if they say they were ready for startup at the end of December, okay, and you got 2 additional weeks in the spring to start up, as we start to think about the supplemental contract and what the end date would be of our contract, they'd add those 2 weeks on to the end of December, puts you to the middle of January for what could conceivably be a contract end date, and we'll enter into a supplemental contract.
So when you say it's ready to go except the lagoons aren't full,
Yeah, that it could start accepting waste and function, yeah.
but the lagoons aren't full. I mean, that's not part of that requirement, obviously.
I guess,
No, but they, of course, that's then maintenance issues, that it will function properly. They have to make sure it functions properly.
I
So-
just think if you
that
say
would
it's
be part of
ready,
that.
if it's ready to go, it's ready to go. It's ready to go, and it's not ready to go if the lagoons aren't full.
But that will be part of that supplemental contract.
I suppose.
why would we,
Those guys from Canada coming down to help start us up anyway.
give me a reason why the city should enter into this, what's the advantage for the city to do this, to go into the supplemental one?
We're getting the extension on the maintenance bill. That's
Yeah,
what they're
but
offering
see-
to us.
Well, see, that's perfect then. Before they couldn't do any of it, now they come up with 6 months.
Yep.
What's gonna happen if we hold their feet to the fire until it's done and the meter's running?
Mhm.
Will they extend it further again to get off of it? Is that part of negotiations
It's
or
part of
not?
negotiations. That's just the whole deal here, is You look at all these blanks in here, every one of them is a negotiation.
Well, when he walked out of this, when I told him, I said, you know, I wanted to bring back to the council 3 years of extended year warranty on that. He said the bond company wouldn't go. So what brought the bond company another 6 months? Other than that, they're feeding us with,
Well, he told us that day 6 months.
yeah, that's what I'm saying. But I mean, before that, he wouldn't even
Oh.
entertain it until we talked about it. So that, to me, they're telling us what we wanna hear, but we wanna play by their rules.
I just think we need the engineer here too. Don't you at some point, or some?
I have no, I see why we don't even do anything until it's done.
Yeah.
I mean, we don't go to any other supplement, we've got a contract,
Until it's done, meaning what though?
till it's up and out, running.
All the lines are hooked and what stuff's
And
going
it's full,
through.
you're looking at 4 months for sure. And if you're at 15 grand a year, or a month, cause it's $500 a calendar day, right?
It is, you know?
So you multiply that up. Maybe we won't, or maybe we'll just want the 2 years and take the liquidated damages. It gives us the option, otherwise we don't have no option.
I would look for a little more guidance on that, Whitey, because if they are truly at a point where it's substantially complete and we could operate, and we're choosing not to, that gets to be an issue.
Well, when they operate, they've gotta fill the lagoon, and they're saying that they're not gonna fill the lagoon till March. That's too much. We got 3 months, we're looking at 4 months right now, for sure.
But we made the choice not to fill.
Exactly.
They said they didn't wanna fill too, because of the possibility of problems.
Right.
They're just as much on board with us as they are.
Yeah, they are.
Well, I keep going back in my mind to, we wouldn't do the supplemental agreement until the middle of January. So we add 6 months onto that, and then plus our 2 years. And to me, that would suffice anything
I
that
think so.
doesn't work at the time, because
I'm not worried about it at the time it starts up, I'm worried about down the time. I'm still worried with the way they bored that in on that hill, I'm worried about, that won't show up right away.
that may not show up for 10, 20 years.
But at least I know I got 3 years to come. That I'm cut. Yeah, nothing's for sure,
We
there's
had the
nothing for
option
sure.
We
All
had the
options,
option to go around that hill.
huh?
We had the option to go around that hill.
No, they were gonna dig down through it, is what that's the way it was bid.
But we also had the option to go around it.
But the engineer said what? That it was gonna cost just as much or more?
Well,
They're
but it
the
was
ones
still
going
probably would
under
have
the
been.
hill.
I mean, I just,
You should get at it. now.
I'm not saying he's wrong, I'm just saying, I think that was the advice we got on that, wasn't it? Correct me if
But-
I'm
No, that's
wrong.
good.
You know, we're having this discussion tonight, and we don't even really need to be aware of it, but
Basically, you know, it's just awareness.
But
middle of
is
January,
the engineer gonna be here at any meeting, anytime?
When it comes to project closeout, boy, we would absolutely have
So
them.
that'd be the middle of January.
Well, that ain't far away.
At the earliest, yeah.
Yeah.
You be here, Vicki?
Okay,
Spirit.
couple other things, anything else on the
I'll be
news?
here on video.
It's the time of year when we would have our fire department trustees meeting. And I'd like to do that next Monday, the
Yeah.
9th.
Let's add that, yeah.
Does that work for folks if we did it on the 9th?
So you're having it the same time as the community club thing?
Yeah, yeah, we'll do 7 o'clock, but, yeah.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah, it's always worked out that way, we've done it that way for the past several years, that gotta leave the social a little early to get to the council meeting. But if we can, let's plan on that.
Just plan on it.
The 9th,
Yep,
7 o'clock.
7 o'clock
Fire station.
at the fire station.
Monday.
Yep. And Sac County League, Lakeview hosts Sac County League, it's a week from Thursday, so it's 12.
I have a commitment that night, God dang.
Thursday. And that's at 6:37.
Yeah, social time at 6:30, dinner at 7, and spouses are invited.
That's the 12th, right?
That's it.
Yep. At the dock, yeah.
So you guys are going, right? Planning, geez. Yeah, you don't know, probably. your December's filling up. Yep.
That's it.
We got notified the other day that we got another $400 grant for the heaters in the shelter house. So we've gotten $800 so far for to replace the old heaters that are in there.
Great.
Good
I think, you know, just off the cuff, there's some money out there for all these projects. I was just reading today about that rural revitalization program and how they wanna put everything, kind of pool things, so when you're trying to find all this stuff, you got one shop to go to.
It'd be nice.
You know, I just think there's, you know, I think the governor's committed more money to rural Iowa projects, whether it be housing to economic development to,
Still taxpayers' money, right?
well, you know what, Terry, you're gonna, you know, you'll either, I mean, either you get it or Stanhope or somebody gets it. I mean, you won't see a check in the mail.
I won't.
I'd rather ask them
I'll
Yeah, there
keep
you
looking for it then.
Motion to adjourn?
to. So move.
I'll second it.
Meeting adjourned. Yeah.
Is that mine that's doing that?
We'll get better.
I will.
All right, we'll be in touch.
Sounds good. Give me a call tomorrow, Scott.
Yeah, look, they ain't on my TV. I got no score.
Well, that's her problem.
That ain't a problem, that's good there. I don't think besides my fish
As soon as I
only.
get it.
Waiting. Don't leave, stick around here a second.
This way I can go through there and make notes. Either add or
Yes, sir.
subtract. Check the temperature.
I got that flash drive on there.
Oh, that's how it's going.
I downloaded on mine.
I don't go far away.
There's 2 new ones in this one.
We got that to go.
Sounds like a plan.
When the weather was nice.
Well, when they start falling
I'm
behind.
gonna throw this
Yeah.
battery away before I get carried away.
You didn't get a photo up.
It's all right.
Dale probably wants to take your picture.
You take that in January. We get
Oh, you have to get sworn in.
Yeah.
Yep.
Gotta get swore at. Been down that road.
Oh,